Welcome to another edition of Interruptions. I'm your host, Otis Smith. Today, I got another treat for you guys. If you looking at this screen, if you don't know who this is, you're probably under 40. That's probably what your problem is. But this guy here has his song has been played at many weddings. He's probably created a few children too. As far as we
Maybe
listening,
a couple. A
was there a
couple.
couple? A couple. He's had songs like "Everlasting Love," "She's Fly," "Love," "Lovey Dovey," and
Mhm.
the classic "With You." I'm talking no other than the Smooth Brother, Tony Terry. How you doing, sir?
What's good, man? What's good? What's good? What's good?
Hey, thank you for coming on the show, man. We don't take it lightly. You're blessing us with your presence.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Hey, my first
So what's
question.
on your mind, man? What you want to chop it up about?
Hey, we're gonna get into it. The thing I try to do is not so much know the artist because you can always listen to your music to kind of get an idea of the artist, but we like to know Tony Terry, the man behind the art. So my first question for you is what I'm curious is why music as a career? Why?
Why not? uh, I, I mean, I just never thought about. Well, maybe I have thought about doing other things. Like I've done other things for,
Mhm.
like I was in management for a restaurant chain
Okay.
at at a really young age, but I knew that that wasn't what my life was going to be. I've been doing music since I was a kid, so I just assumed that I would be doing music. I didn't have to figure it out.
And the reason I asked that question,
I didn't have to decide that that's what I'm going to do. I was just always doing it.
you were just always doing it. Okay. The reason I asked that question, just to give you some context, is just simple. You've had some people that may have had your talent, as far as being able to sing. I mean, sing, not sing,
Mm.
but can sing. But for some reason they never just things didn't work out, or for some reason they just never chose it as a career. So that's why I asked that question, just to give you some context. Is why music as a career? I mean, you're great at it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, if I had not done music, I mean, I like to argue. so, I mean, like for the sake of argument, like I'd be a good attorney. I'd be a good
Okay.
trial attorney because I like to argue.
Okay. Okay. That's it. See, that's good to know that about you. See. Uh, Tell me.
Debate. I would call it debate, not so much argument.
I
Like
know what you. Yeah, I know what you meant.
not bickering, but yeah,
So you said a trial attorney.
yeah, probably,
Okay. Okay.
or a music or a teacher of some sort.
A teacher of some sort. Okay. Okay. Um. So yeah, my second question for you. Tell me about your experience at the Duke Ellington School of Arts. What was that
Oh man,
like?
that was what? How should I say? Amazing. I mean, okay, so I was home one day and Fame came on. I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 51, so
Fame,
I
you
know
remember?
about Fame.
Okay, so Fame came on, and I was like, wow. And then the opening, Debbie Allen would say, you want it. It starts here with sweat.
Sweat,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
right
You know what
here,
I
right
mean?
now.
And I don't know. I just wanted it. Like I wanted it, and I knew about the Duke Ellington School of the Arts. I had never done an audition before in my life.
Okay,
Didn't know how to audition for anything.
okay,
I was so ignorant that I went. No one told me to have sheet music, and I had a vinyl. I had an LP,
okay.
and because I was gonna basically sing along with the recording. I didn't know any better. I didn't know. So I went in there. I went into the audition, and they called me up to come and audition. And I was like, okay, well, where's the record player? I had to put my record on. They were like, that's not how we do it here. And I was like,
I don't know
okay,
how you do
I don't know how.
it.
This is how I do it. So I had to sing my song that I was expecting to sing along with this recording.
uh,
I sang a cappella because I didn't have any sheet music,
okay.
and I got in. I got in. I remember asking my mother if I could go, and before I even finished asking the question, she was like, "No." Absolutely. I was like, "That's not even fair." So the next year, I went and auditioned without saying anything, and when I got in, I didn't ask my folks if I could go. I told them that I was going.
Okay.
And they gave me no resistance. They were like, "Okay." I was like, "What you mean, okay? Last year you told me no. What you mean? This
You
you
mean
talking about? Okay."
I could have
Yeah.
been here a year ago? That's what you
Right,
say?
right. But my attitude about it was different because I had already done some groundwork, and
Okay.
they knew my passion. By then, my whole family knew that
Okay.
it was music. It was
Okay.
gonna be.
I was
They knew.
curious.
So
I was curious of that because of I had the pleasure to interview Eric Gimple, who played Coco on the TV show Fame, and she went to a performing arts school as well. So I just went to a regular public school. So, but like you said, watching Fame, it was like, man, I would it have been like to go
oh, it
to.
was like that. It was like that.
Okay.
Actually, Fame was based on the
Hmm.
Duke Ellington School of the Arts.
Okay. Okay.
It
Okay.
was based on that. And they set it in New York, but it was based on what was going on in DC. Debbie Allen was a teacher at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts.
Okay.
The one thing that I enjoyed the most was that all of the teachers who taught us our craft were working. They were working musicians, actors, dancers, singers, artists. They were all working,
Okay.
and so we were working with people who were working in that craft. They were
Gotcha.
teaching us the craft, but they were going out on auditions and starring in shows and touring and all that kind of stuff too. And we would often be in school rehearsing a play for our school day was longer than the normal school day.
Oh,
I
really?
think, yeah, it was longer, and we didn't want to go home after that. I mean, we kind of hung out at school. It was like we wanted to be there. It was I'm not sure the word to call it, but we spent a lot of time there honing our craft. A lot of time.
Let me ask you a question, and I didn't even have this as a question, but it's just a side based on the answer you just gave. With a school like Duke Ellington and other schools, like it, do you think that they need to create more high schools set up like that? They may not all be in the arts, but
Well, I mean, they do. They have
mhm,
trade high schools too, where you can go
okay,
and learn how to learn a trade, and
right,
half the day is your academic, and the other half is the trade. So if it's a mechanic or woodworking or at this point coding, whatever it is,
right.
they do have those. They have
Well,
those.
my alma mater, my high school, yes. It was funny. I'm so mad, Tony, because when I was there, those were just electives, right?
All
so,
right, right. I
so I
remember
would,
wood shop. I took wood shop in seventh grade.
yeah,
I made the bowl. Had to put the bowl on glue it pieces together and put them on the lathe and carve out a bowl.
yeah. We would do,
We still have the bowl. We still have it.
carving the thing out where you could put the picture. So somebody wanted to make their own picture frame, and
Right,
like you said, put the glass on it. So
right.
yeah, so my alma mater, they doing that. Like you said, mechanic. Yeah, they call it now the schools of Carver. It's Carver High School in Atlanta. But
Okay.
if you do the school, the part where you can get like you could say if you did cosmetology, you could be a certified cosmetologist
By the time you
and
graduate.
by the time you graduate, and then the crazy part of I've had other family members who were seniors in high school but were freshmen at Georgia State at the same
Right.
time.
Well, my son is
Hmm.
a freshman in high school and also enrolled in college.
See,
So when
that's
he graduates high school, he'll have his bachelor's.
that's great. That's great. That's
Yeah,
I'm
my dad. Hats off to my wife for that because we've been home. Well, she has been homeschooling him for pretty much the entire time, and he has just really excelled. He's straight A student.
oh wow,
I
wow.
don't know
That's
where he got that from because
he
I
got it from
was not.
somebody.
It was not his papa.
Hey, I said the
I'm gonna
same
tell you
thing
that
with
right now.
I said the same thing with my daughter. She became a whiz in math, and I was like, I know you didn't get that from me because once you got the algebra, I told them they were gonna have to get some help because I wasn't gonna be able
Right,
to.
right. Well, for me, it was division.
That's because you ain't want your money divided no way. That's all that was.
Right. Like, what my money divided?
just straight adding.
But look, my grandson. Okay, so my son got it, and my grandson got it. My grandson is 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's in more or less daycare, but they have it structured like, kindergarten. It has a little structure to it, and so they do science, and they study the galaxy. And my grandson has just taken an affinity to everything that has to do with the universe, anything that has to, and so he knows all of the planets. In fact, while he's naming them off to me, I got to be looking them up to make, because I don't know them.
Like, slow down.
So he was in school. This was about maybe 3 months ago, and one of the members of the State Board of Education was also there, and she saw my grandson really just uber excited about science.
Okay.
So she suggested that the teacher allow him to teach the class one day a week.
Oh, wow! Now that's amazing.
He's 4.
That's what I'm saying. That's amazing.
He didn't get that from me.
That's amazing. Well, but you know what? But you know what? Sometimes, like what you were blessed with your talent.
It was latent in me. It was latent. It
That's
was in there.
Right.
It just didn't come out in school.
Well, God just said, "Hey, I'm gonna put that in the grandson. I want you to sing. I'm gonna put this here in the grandson." So it still came from you. It still came from you.
Right.
How and who discovered you?
Wow. I don't know. Okay, so because I started recording when I was 14, right?
Right.
And I would say that the producer at the time discovered me.
Okay.
Took me to Sigma Sounds in Philadelphia, and we recorded. But it turns out he was a big drug dealer, and my mother had to go get them. It was a big mess. And then I went on, and when I was living in New York.
Okay.
And just kind of not sure if I wanted to stay. I think I remember having a cold or something. I was just kind of frustrated with being in New York, and I was ready to go back to DC.
Okay.
But my best friend at the time was like, "Nah, man, bump that. We're going to the club. Forget that." So we did. We went to the spot, and it was live music there. They were really good. So after the show, we were downstairs hanging out in the basement of this club, which was jam-packed. So I did an audition for the guy, for the MD of the band.
Okay.
But there was a guy standing behind me who heard me singing for these people.
Okay.
And he gave me his card. He was like, "Man, where did you come from?" And he gave me his card. And I was cocky. I was like 20, 21. So I was like, my mom and dad, it was like, where do you think I came from? So he gave me his card. Now, many times prior to that, people would give me a card and would say, "Man, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. This is who I am." Really kind of blowing their own horn. And, this guy didn't do any of that. But I could tell that he was somebody. But he ain't doing any of that. He's just like, here's my card. Give me a call. And I held on to it for a couple of weeks. I didn't go back to DC. And I called him late at night. It was about 11 o'clock. I don't even remember why I even waited so late to call him, but I called him at 11 o'clock. And he was excited to hear from me. Like, "What took you so long, man? Where are you? Yeah, where are you? Come to the studio." I was like, "Now?" He was like, yeah. So I get up. I'm in East Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
So I take the bus down to the train station, take the PATH train from New Jersey to New York, take the subway from the PATH train up to Times Square, 47th Street. And I almost got mugged that night too.
Oh, wow.
And so I get up to the studio, and the guy's name was Ted Currier. And I'll tell you a little bit about him in a minute. I walked into the studio, and Parliament Funkadelic was in there. And I knew who they were instantly because I was a huge Parliament Funkadelic fan.
Yes, yes,
You know what I
Mr.
mean?
George.
I had everything, and so they were in there cutting vocals on the Boogie Boys,
Okay.
who had a record in the '80s called "The Fly Girl." So this was like the follow up to that. And I met my homie there, my friend Daryl Mull. I met him there, and he was like this black Puerto Rican kid,
Okay.
really fast talking, typical New York energy. So
Okay.
he's like, yo, Ted, you put my boy in the booth, you'll fire all them jokers. And I'm like, man, would you stop? You can't do that. But he did, and and Ted was curious. Well, he had
Okay.
heard me sing at the place,
Okay.
so he asked me. He invited me to go into the booth. He called the guys out, and it was Gary Scheider who played guitar. He was the guy that wore the diaper in Parliament.
Okay.
He was in there, and Gary Cooper. I mean, it was just the whole crew. And so I go in the booth, and they start giving me things to do, and I was nailing it. Boom, one take, Tony.
Okay. What take, Tony?
And he did fire those guys, and he hired me to sing on that record for the Boogie Boys, which was their follow-up to A Fly Girl on Capitol Records.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first R&B record. I mean, it was the first hip-hop record that
Right.
was, going to incorporate R&B hooks. It was the first one. Capitol Records did it on the Boogie Boys. It didn't work, but, it was like, wow, I'm on a record.
You're
Like
getting the
the first
taste.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but while I was doing that, while I was recording, Ted's wife came into the room. Ted Courier produced Atomic Dog for George Clinton.
Okay, that was my
And,
joint.
yeah, I mean, that's classic, and a whole bunch of other records, but he was also in the group of probably the first 50 DJs in the world to do live mixes on radio. He was in New York at 92 KTU, I think it was. And then he went to BLS, to
Okay.
the big stations. So while I was in there recording that project for the Boogie Boys, Sherry came in and asked me to come into another room to sing for these people that were in there. And I didn't know the people. I had been
Okay.
singing for a couple of hours, so I was good and warm. And I went in and sang for them. And I left that room with a 7-album deal. So that was like the A&R department of Capitol Records. They came for some meeting or whatever. And I sang. I left with a 7-album deal.
Woo.
Just like that.
Just like that. That's
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you one of the most. I don't know if you have gotten this before, but your sound never matched your look. Like when I saw you, back in the day with the high top.
The high top fade.
Yeah, we all had
I
the
can
high
still
top.
get the high top fade, man. I just
Yeah.
cut it down. I just went to the barber today and got fresh. But
Hey,
I had
I
to
could
let
trust me.
the fade go, man.
It was so funny. My grandson has the fade now.
Yeah, I know they rocking the fade is back. I went back to it for a little while, but I let it go again.
And then you were it was crazy. And then you were muscular, but when you hit those falsetto notes, it was like, wow, you were blowing people away of your range and the softness and the texture of your voice. And because sometimes, like with that high top fade, sometimes you may be thinking, okay, we might be getting a Teddy Pendergrass type voice or something. That's why they say never judge a book by its cover, because
Well, you
you
know
don't
what
know.
though? It's interesting about that because
Okay.
I am a lower voice singer. I'm a baritone naturally. Was then.
Okay.
But but they pitched all my songs up higher, and they wanted me to sing higher because they liked the tension in my voice, and I guess it made me sound younger singing higher,
Right.
like that. But I didn't. I was a baritone, and I had a problem with them setting all my songs up in such high keys. But they were doing that too. They did that to Marvin Gaye back in the day, and the reason they were doing it because at that, in these higher keys, there would be this tension in his voice, almost kind of trying to reach to get it. And,
right. I know what
so
you're
you
talking
hear
about.
you hear the power. And if it had been lower and easier for him to sing, it may not have had the same impact. And I think that the same kind of mentality was considered when they were choosing songs for me. But like when I recorded with you, I sang it down maybe 10 or more times. It's been a long time, so I don't really remember. 10, but at least 10 times. Just sing it from the beginning to the end. And then they would do what's called accompanying a lead. So we listen to track one, for example, of the first verse. Listen to that, and whatever we don't like on that track of the first verse, we now go to track two and see if we like something on there. Okay. If we do, we take that word and we bring it down to track one and replace the words that's there. And we do that on every track. So we actually take all of these performances and then we make one lead out of it. You feel me?
Yeah, I got you. So it makes it seem like that's how you sung it all the way through.
I didn't sing it like
take.
That.
Right.
like I had to learn it after they put it together. Then I had to learn it that way. Yeah. Like the first few performances live of me singing with you, I hope never show up on the internet. They haven't so far.
So you were still learning the song.
I was still learning that song, man. It was not pretty. It was not. It was high too. It was a struggle for me to sing because it was so high. Like, why y'all doing this to me?
And and it was trying to, and that's how it was keeping you up there. There was no,
there
wasn't no build up to it.
They moved me in up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you was up there. You had to stay up there through the whole song.
Yes, yeah, I sure did.
Your first single, "She's Fly."
Yeah.
How excited was your family for you when that was released and you was on the Billboard top 10, and they could hear their brother, my baby, my son, they could hear him on the radio. What was that like for you and your family?
Well, okay, well, when I first heard the song, my album was done.
Right.
All right. And so I had recorded what I thought was the last song for the album. But we didn't know what the single was going to be, because the first album was all over the place. I mean, it literally was all over the place with sounds, because just trying to figure out what it was going to be. And so I had left the studio to go for a walk, maybe to get something to eat. Okay. And I ran into a friend of mine from high school who I hadn't seen since high school. So I graduated in 82. This would have been about 1989, 88, right? So I hadn't seen him since then. And I ran into him on the street in New York, on 9th Avenue, in fact. And he was an actor, a great actor. I didn't know him to be a songwriter or producer. I knew him to be an actor and a dancer. And so we're catching up, and he tells me he's writing songs, he's producing. So I said, let me hear something. He plays it right there on a Walkman, Sony Walkman. And it was She's Fly. And I was like, man, we going. I was like, what you doing right now? He was like, nothing. I was like, we're going to the studio and we're going to cut this right now.
Right now.
Right. So we went to the studio. I played it for Ted. I was all excited. Man, Ted, you got to hear this. So we cut it. But the thing is, I was congested. I was coming off the flu, actually. Okay. So I was talking like this. My voice sounded like this when I was singing. Hey, you got me jumping. So that's what it was sounding like. And I said, beautiful bodies, which was an accident. Right? Ted was like, no, we keeping that. I was like, no, man, you can't keep that. That was a mistake, man. He was like, if you think I'm erasing that, you're crazy. So the very first line was, that beautiful body is showing up.
Right.
Was actually a mistake that we kept.
Wow. You never know where the magic comes from. Never know where the magic comes from.
Yeah.
How instrumental was Miss Anita Baker, for you?
Well, okay, so I see With You video in the background behind you.
Yeah.
And if it were not for her, that would not have happened. It would just simply would not have happened, because the label did not think that With You was a hit record. So they weren't interested in supporting it. When it went to radio, okay, so back in the day, there were several major labels, about 40, right? So all 40 of those major labels have new music coming out, every week.
Right.
So so that's 40 local promoters from the radio station. That's 40 people going into a radio station to get their record played that might only have 5 slots.
Right. Okay.
You know, to add a new
Mm-hmm.
record that week.
Right.
And everybody's job depends on whether or not they get these records added. But there's only slots for 5. And so my record was sent to radio with a blank label on it. There was no information except what was on it was handwritten. Tony Terry with you, or whatever it was. And then that was it. There was no setup. There was no rollout. You know how a record for an artist would be set up, and you know that it's coming.
Right. Right.
So there was none of that, and it was released to radio, and it just started happening. Not because they made it happen or even wanted it to happen, because they tried to convince me not to release it. They didn't want it to be my single.
They didn't believe in it.
No, the president of the company was like, "Nah, man, we can't do this." I was like, "Yes, we can."
Wow.
Yes, we can. So they wanted me to choose another song. I just wasn't interested in doing that. And I, and I'm stubborn like that. Like when I make up my mind,
right,
it's done. You can stand there and argue until you are blue in the face.
You're not moving off of it.
This is what it's gonna be right here. In fact, I don't even hear you anymore. I've moved on in my mind. Okay. So With You started happening, and then one day I was just walking into the office in our building. So we lived in Queens, New York, in a high-rise, beautiful building. But all of the artists that were signed to this production company, Platinum Vibe, we all lived in the building, right? And the office, and then we had an apartment that was a dedicated office. And so I walked into the office, and the receptionist, Jeanette, was not sitting there. I guess she had gone to the bathroom or whatever, but she wasn't there. The phone was ringing, and I was walking by and I answered it. And it was Anita Baker. But it took me a minute to believe that was Anita Baker. Like I thought I was being pranked. I just didn't believe it.
Right.
Okay. I was like, okay, I'll play along. Okay. Yeah. How are you? Yeah, I really did believe it was a joke.
Okay.
And she said, that she had heard my song the night before on a performance, the Party Machine that used to come on after Arsenio. And
I remember that.
She saw that, and she was like, "Wow, where is the video? How come I've never seen a video for this?" And I told her that the label wasn't really interested in the song, and she gave me $50,000 to shoot the video, and she called Blair Underwood to direct. It was his first directing job.
Oh wow!
And he's in the video. You see him get snubbed by the girl,
right?
And all of the people that are sitting at the bar, you only see their backs. They're all like soap opera stars. They were just friends that were just coming by. Then we don't see any of their faces, but we needed the bodies.
Gotcha.
So we were on the set. We were on set, and they were free, so we had them sit at the bar. But Anita Baker paid for that, and then when that was done and it came together, and it had an impact that no one. Well, I knew the song was special from the very first time I heard it. I didn't even hear it all the way through. I stopped the tape and was like, Raymond, when are we doing this? So I knew it was special from the very, very, very first listen. And I just wanted the world to catch up. And it wasn't even about me. Like, I'm going to sing the heck out of this song. It wasn't even like that. I just knew that it was a special song. And I wanted to be able to connect with it. And so I asked him, where did it come from? Give me some backstory about the song. And he said, you know such and such a person? And I was like, yeah, I know. Well, see, at the time, such and such a person was my girlfriend in my mind.
Okay. Gotcha.
She made me too nervous to actually speak to her.
Oh, wow.
But in my mind, we was a couple. And he was in violation. And he was in violation because he was writing songs about her. Well, he wrote the song about her because he had a crush on her. Okay. But he didn't know that I had a crush on her. We both found out in that moment that we was crushing on the same chick.
And you was
And
able
he
to
wrote,
really connect with it.
well, he wrote the song about her.
Mm-hmm.
I had an affinity for her,
Mm-hmm.
but that wasn't the reason. Like, that was like a big moment. But
Right.
I was also going through a situation where I was suing my daughter's mother for full custody,
Okay.
and in New York City, which was really bold, because New York, that had to be some really super extenuating circumstances
Right.
for New York to take a child from its mother and
Right.
place them somewhere else. But I pursued it and I won. And so I was kind of going through that whole thing of, now I have this baby, and the song was about innocence. It was an innocent love, and it's really up to interpretation, because it's a genuine love song. And as far as I know, there's only one source of genuine love.
Right.
And we all know where that is. So it's a universal love song that I personally have sang in the pulpit, and
Yeah.
on the big stage. It's one of those songs that can go in the church and out of the church, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not be offensive and be embraced by the world. And so when people tell me how much it means to them,
Mm-hmm.
and what it's, that it has saved them. I sang it at funerals. The
Wow.
check cleared. So I went. um, yeah, I went. Yeah. So, but when I hear how the song has become a part of the fabric of so many people's lives, I have to give God the glory.
Yeah.
And it don't have nothing to do with me.
The beautiful part about that song, that I connect with, it was a time that for you and we came in a time with these kids today. Though it's all right to tell that lady what she means to you.
In fact, we used to take songs. We used to make cassette tapes.
Yeah, make slow
Put
jam.
songs in the order in which we wanted our girl to know our feelings and our emotions.
Yep. Yep. You got it. And
I made a tape for you. That's how that was. They don't
I
do that anymore.
No, I hate that. Now, the one thing is, my daughter came to me one time and she said, "Dad, you know what? Your music was better." She gave
Oh,
it, because she went back. She goes back and listens to music. Both of my daughters do, and I tell them, I said, it's all right. A man should tell you how he feels about you, you know. And I
yeah, but
said,
in a respectful way, because
right, right,
they
yeah,
say that
respect.
in today's music, but it
Yeah,
don't be nice.
no, no, don't be nice.
They leave
Watch it.
nothing to the imagination these
The
days, bro.
romance is gone. The romance
It's
is gone.
gone. But
Yeah.
check this out.
Hmm.
Every other culture can sing R&B. Like, the world wants R&B music. They just don't want it from us.
Yeah. It's more hip hop now. And
Well, it's like, no, I'm saying, like,
uh-huh.
have you heard the Koreans seriously do R&B music?
No, I haven't.
They're killing it. They sound like authentic R&B groups in Korea, doing traditional R&B that we know, that
Wow.
we're familiar with, and being
Wow.
successful. The Japanese, they're doing R&B music. I'm saying they have R&B stars.
Wow.
They sound amazing.
The
They
reason
have gospel
I
groups
believe you, the reason I believe
that
you, because I've been seeing videos lately of these Korean girls dancing to James Brown.
they can say, right. I saw that, man. That video, I watched it about 225 times the first time. I could not. I was like, I'm gonna learn this step. Hold on.
Yeah, they were moving, wasn't it? They were moving. I was like,
They was killing it.
they was
I saw that.
So with that, when you said that about the singing part, that's why I'm like, okay, yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
they
that.
got it. Okay, but we can't do it. Even the Caucasian fans or musicians
Hmm.
can do R&B music. Like,
But they
put out
don't
an
want it from
R&B
us.
record right now. But, like, we can't put out a traditional R&B record because it just is not going to work. However, I've always been known to walk to the beat of a different drum. So I'm gonna put out a traditional R&B album,
Please do. No, please do.
And it's starting with I was asked to feature on a classic song called "Going in Circles." You got me going in
The circle.
circles, right?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Okay, so I had heard the song before, really liked it. I heard it pretty much all my life,
Right.
but I never sang it. And we went in the studio and came up with something really special. Like I'm looking forward to. Like I'm my own worst critic. Like I will work on a song until it. You know, if y'all don't just give me a release date, I'm just gonna be perpetually working on this.
You go constantly work.
Yeah. um, and so, but I got this song and just kind of what I did was study all of the versions that have come out.
Okay.
You know, the original version, and Charlie Wilson did a version, Luther Vandross did a version, and then you know, regular Joes, you know, singing at karaoke someplace on YouTube. So I pulled up a few versions of the song and listened to all of them, kind of studied them, and I took elements from each one that I really liked, that made the songs, that made that particular person's version of it special to me.
Okay.
So I took out the things that I liked and incorporated into the version that is now my version of it.
Okay.
And it's pretty dang on smoking there, partner.
Hey, well, let me know, hey, because I know your name, but I've never had the pleasure to see you live. So you gotta let me know the next time you perform, man, so I can come out and holler at you.
Well, I'm gonna be in South Carolina soon. I don't know if you go that far, but I'm doing some dates with Charlie Wilson. The first one's coming up in November.
Okay.
And it's be my first time working with him too.
Okay. That's gonna be. I know that's gonna be a good show. I know that's gonna be a good show.
I think so. I think so.
We talked about this, but this it's a question, but it's kind of just a funny question. But I want to see your take on it. How many marriages and children you believe was conceived from with you?
Okay, I'll put it like this. I was traveling somewhere and we were playing at an arena, and this lady went into labor. She had twins, and she named them Tony and Terry.
Bravo, 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 bravo. Amen at you, bro. Amen at you. That's a, like you said, that's an impact that you don't even know it's gonna have an impact like that.
Right.
That's and
I got a phone call just today. Today I was in the barbershop getting crispy, and I get a phone call from my manager, and he says, "Hold on, I have a phone call that you have to take." And I'm like, "What's up?" And he switches over, and it's this lady.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't remember what I was saying when
you were saying you got a phone call. Somebody
okay, so I get a phone call, and this lady was like, "Listen, she told me she was in Tampa. She had just bought her tickets to come to the show in South Carolina. She was driving up, her and some friends, because she said that my music saved her." And I'm thinking, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And she said she was a cancer survivor. Wow. And she was very specific about the songs that she felt, because I did a gospel album too, that you may or may not know about. And she named several songs off that album that really ministered to her and helped carry her through the process, and that she was, cancer free and had been for years, but she just called to tell me thank you. And it was a little bit emotionally overwhelming, because I wasn't expecting it. I was caught off guard, and I'm so hard on myself that musically, that I think that a lot of the things that I do are corny, especially my writing. I just feel that way. But even though I'm writing, like I wrote Lovey Dovey, and I was trying not to write it, right? I kept saying, "It's that lovey dovey feeling I get when I'm with you." Right. And I wrote it down, and I was like, "This shit is corny." and I cross it off the page, and I go over to the next page, and all I could think about was, "Is that love
It
that
came right back.
feeling?"
It came right
And I
back.
with you, and would not go away. So I was actually on the train in New York, but I didn't want to sing it because I was like, I ain't gonna. I wrote this song, but I ain't gonna sing it.
But you felt because you felt like it was corny. But you
It
know,
was whack. But in this circumstance, I
uh,
get to the session that this was the very first session for my very first album. And I'm being sent by Epic to work with this producer. And so I get to his apartment and he's working on some music and he's got the music blasting. And it's the music to what is now Lovey Dovey. But I didn't know him and I didn't know that. But what I did hear matched like it was supposed to be the song that I just wrote on the train on the way
okay.
to meet him. I just wrote it. So I was excited. I'm knocking on his door. He opens the door. I was like, man, what's that music? Before I even introduced myself, what's that music? What is that? What are you working on? He was like, just a little something for En Vogue, I was like, En Vogue? Well, look, I just wrote a song, man, and it fits. It fits.
Okay.
So he was like, let me hear it. We recorded it right there, that moment, and that was it. That was Lovey Dovey. I was like, En Vogue does not have to know about this. They don't.
But man, you just you sometimes you just been a blessing to us, man. You just really
Yeah.
been a blessing,
I've been
and
blessed, man.
and
I'm blessed.
I know that you did some gospel because I think it was you. I think you were on TBN once, right? You
Yeah, a few times.
yeah, I remember that, and because I know you've had some challenges, like we all have, and went through some things, and when you go through that kind of stuff, the stuff that you went through, how did you keep your sanity, to make it back to yourself, you
I
being
plugged back
Tony.
into my family. I plugged into my family. And why? Because my family do not have any problem at all calling the brother out. Like, I had a #1 record, but when I went home, my mother made me take the trash out.
That means you knew where home was.
I had to take the trash out. I mean, I'm still home, but it's still,
Yeah,
I got a record that's #1 on the radio, but
get the
that's
trash.
my job.
Right.
This is what you do when you come to my house, my mom. Boy, get that trash and put it out, and then bust them suds when you get back in.
See,
They have no problem with none of that.
oh, that's no,
But
that's beautiful.
my family
Hmm.
and my friends and the people that I grew up with,
Sure.
my neighbors, I grew up on one of those blocks that the families lived there forever, 30, 40, 50 years.
Okay.
So my neighbors that we literally, their kids, we grew up together. And we're family, not like family. We are family because we've known each other 30, 40, 50 years. We've argued, we've buried people, we've borrowed eggs and sugar and butter.
I miss them days.
It's like that's what it was. And they kept it like they weren't affected by the whole show. I mean, they were, it was a job. This is what I was doing. I had always been singing, so it wasn't like unusual. It wasn't like all of a sudden, he's gone and he's off, because I had already been doing what it was just more of it,
Sure, I got it.
It was just more of it. And, everybody stayed the way they were with me. And then I with them in turn, we just stayed the way we were with each other. We still joned on each other or cracked on each other. We talked about each other, ashy knees, whatever. Whatever.
No, I love it because that keeps you where who's really for Tony and not the stardom of being a singer, but who loved Tony for Tony.
I think, are we good? I think our meeting is, because I can't hear you anymore. I can't hear you.
Wait a minute. Did I?
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I hit I just have two more questions for you.
Okay.
What is the most, well, not one of the most, but what is one of the most disheartening thing about being in the music industry?
Oh my goodness, man. Don't ask me that.
It goes wherever you take it.
Well, I mean, the music business, I call it the devil's business. And so therefore you have to govern yourself accordingly.
Gotcha.
It's important to keep people around you that care about you and your well-being, and just on every level. Just like my family has always kept it real with me, and my friends have always kept it real with me. I do believe, for some reason, that I have been covered spiritually and then protected from things that others may have succumbed to, or that I might have succumbed to had I not been covered, because of my own ignorance, because of my my own stupidity. Because I witnessed people go into the belly of the beast, if you will, so to speak.
Gotcha.
I've seen it. I've seen it, and when it was tried on me, I wasn't, whatever it was that kept me from crossing the threshold, if you will.
Right.
I was not spiritually permitted to go and to go where I don't know, but I don't want to know.
Hey, I'm with you on that. Hey, somebody told me sometimes you gotta thank God for what didn't happen. not so much what he brought you through, but what he didn't allow to happen that he would have had to bring you through. So that's so my last question for you is, what's important to Mr. Tony Terry today?
Mr. Tony Terry.
First person to ever answer that question like that, and I love it. I love it.
Because I have a habit. I'm a giver, and I have been known to put people's needs, wants, not even their needs, but their wants even, before my own needs. And I don't do that no more. I'm first. Me.
Yeah.
First God, me.
Yeah.
Then everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's because if I'm not okay, then I can't be okay for anybody. So things that I used to do, I don't do no more.
All right now.
Places I used to go, I don't go no more.
Same here. Same here, man. It's called evolving, man. Growing up, we evolve, man. And I looked at, when I saw your story, when they interviewed you on, I think it was Unsung. Yeah. And I said, oh, I got to interview him because, man, you're one of those people. You're more than a conqueror, man. And keep doing.
God be the glory.
Oh yeah, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Stay safe out there and stay blessed. And we'll love to have you back on the show. A lot of time when I bring people back, I partner them with someone else. So we'll love to do that when your schedule permits. And let me know when you're performing in the ATL, man, so I can get out and come support you, man.
I will do it.
Stay safe out there and stay blessed, man. And we love you.
Thank you, man. God bless.
Peace.